Okay, so Packers offense going up against Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. I think there's a lot to talk about. We'll obviously talk about what went wrong the first time, what could go better for Green Bay this time. Should be interesting, and so let's just jump into it. First, let's start off with how the Buccaneers should attack this running game, because the running game was not successful for Green Bay. The overall numbers aren't atrocious, but that's because A.J. Dillon and Jamal Williams had a 20-yard run and a 25-yard run, respectively. Aaron Jones ended up with 15 yards on just 10 carries. And keep in mind, Tampa Bay did this without Vita Vea, who appears to be coming back this Sunday. So we'll start off with this play. You see that Green Bay's right guard is the one in charge of going up to block Devin White. And listen, Green Bay's offensive line, they're really good. They are. Green Bay's offensive line's probably been the best in football this season, despite their injuries. So I know there will be no David Bakhtiari in this game, but they've really responded well even with the injuries. So this is Lucas Patrick, who's going to try and go up to block Devin White. The issue is just that, guys like Devin White and Davante David are so good at reading the run and getting to the gap before an offensive lineman can go up and block him. Watch how White is just going to shoot through the gap immediately. He makes an immediate tackle. I mean, that's just an incredible play. And, really the two linebackers for Tampa Bay can make those kind of incredible plays through the ground consistently. Like, here's another one. I'll now show one from Davante David from the same game, where this time it's going to be the center, Corey Lindsey. He's going to be the guy who's going to try and go up and block Davante David this time, which, this is the kind of thing that Green Bay is able to do consistently. They're not able to do it consistently against Tampa Bay because of how athletic these two linebackers are. Watch how once this play starts, it's Davante David now able to get to the outside and make a quick tackle. So, again, I'm not saying that that's going to happen literally every time Green Bay tries to run, but it's going to happen a lot more than you would think. And Green Bay, it certainly happened more than Green Bay thought it would the first time they played. And so they're going to have some kind of strategy, whether it's, put a fullback in. They're going to have to do something, because getting the running game going when Tampa Bay gets their best run defender back in Vita Vea, that's going to be a very difficult thing for them to accomplish. And it might just be something they don't try too often. Although I do think there is value in having a consistent running game. But anyways, one thing I find interesting is, we've seen Tampa Bay. I'm going to be interested to see what exactly they decide to do defensively. Because I think most Bucs fans would just say, play man coverage, right? Because it worked out so well last week against New Orleans. Playing zone did not work out very well at all against Washington. Be a base man coverage team. You can play some zone, just don't go crazy with it. The issue with that is there's pretty easy ways for Green Bay to beat it. I mean, Green Bay's, they can beat everything really, but they can run a simple play like this, just a rub route against the cover one blitz, and these types of plays Green Bay can really have great success with. I mean, watch. Once this play starts, you're going to see there's just a receiver completely wide open here for the Packers. Now, part of this is it's not just man coverage, but Tampa Bay's receivers were playing off, their corners were playing off. Maybe Tampa Bay's corners will play press in this one, which I do think they're better at. But either way, I think Green Bay isn't afraid of man coverage from Tampa Bay. Watch. This is just going to be an easy throw, and they're able to pick up a first down just like that. And it's not just that. There can also be something like this. This was in a red zone situation. You're inside the 10-yard line right here. Once again, Tampa Bay is going to be playing man. It's a cover one play, so that's what's going to happen. And I'm not showing the routes on the screen because that's not what I'm talking about. One thing that's worth mentioning is when a team plays man, a quarterback can scramble. And Rodgers might not be the rushing quarterback he once was, but he still can move when he has to. And watch how that's going to happen, where containment is given up to his right, so he runs in that direction, and he's going to dive, and he actually doesn't get the touchdown. This was a weird play where a flag went down. It eventually was not ruled a penalty, but there was a weird situation where a safety got ruled for a late hit, and on top of that, it was also not ruled a touchdown, which is just one of those baffling, how did the NFL manage to call both of those things on the same play? Kind of shows how difficult of a position the NFL puts their defensive players in. But at the same time, they didn't actually throw the flag, so good job by them. But yeah, back to how that will affect Championship Sunday. I could see Rodgers, he's not going to rush for 100 yards, but he might rush for a first down or a touchdown. I also want to talk about the pick six, but in order to do that, first I'm going to let Aaron Rodgers himself set it up from when he was on the Pat McAfee show immediately after.
The kid after the game said, Davante motion from the field to the boundary, he runs out breakers all game. So, that's something we just obviously got to do a better job of Self-scouting.
Yeah, so this is what Aaron Rodgers is talking about here, is that you see Davante Adams in motion to Rodgers' left, and he's going to end up being the plus receiver, which means he's the receiver closest to the sideline. Well, now Jamel Dean knows that it's probably going to be an out route. So Rodgers takes the snap, and that's where he's going to throw the ball, and Dean is able to step in front because he just saw something on tape, and he saw that typically when Adams goes in motion, he typically runs a certain route, and Dean was then able to step in front and get the interception. So that, whatever. What I find interesting about it, though, is what Aaron Rodgers said of we're going to have to do a better job of self-scouting and sort of realizing, okay, let's make sure we're not giving anything away. Because let's talk about this play. Well, obviously the pick six got the most attention. There were a good amount of plays that Tampa Bay was just ready for. This one's a great example where you see that it's going to be a quick wide receiver screen. Nothing too fancy whatsoever. But what's amazing here is going to be Carlton Davis, the defensive back who's in that area. He knows this is coming, and that's just kind of what Tampa Bay was able to do. Watch how he steps in front, and he nearly got an interception. I mean, we saw how Darius Williams in wild card weekend against Seattle, he was able to get a pick six that way. So, Tampa Bay, they were all over Green Bay that first game, and you have to wonder, will Green Bay, was that just a wake-up call and they're much better now at making sure they change things up? Or is it just that Tampa Bay sort of knows how to figure out what Green Bay is doing? Probably the former, but we don't know. Let's talk about Carlton Davis for a second. He's coming off of his big day when he was really able to shut down Michael Thomas. Now, it seemed like Michael Thomas had some injury. Not sure how much that affected him. But regardless, Davis is very good at the types of receivers who typically rely on route running. So like on this play, what's going to end up happening is that this is going to be man coverage. Carlton Davis is going up one-on-one against Davante Adams, which is, Adams is obviously one of the best receivers in the league. Adams is running a slant route over the middle. But, I mean, honestly, Carlton Davis, he can cover these types of routes. He really can. Watch. Rodgers takes the snap. It looked like there might have been an offsides there that didn't get called. But regardless, you see that this is the kind of situation where it seems like Adams does a pretty good job at making these catches most of the time, but Carlton Davis, like I said, he's good at not creating that initial separation. He doesn't allow a bunch of initial separation, and he has good ball skills, and that's what being a good man corner is. When Carlton Davis is in man coverage, honestly, I don't care if you're Davante Adams, I don't care if you're Michael Thomas, I don't care if you're Jerry Rice, running a slant route is going to be difficult. Obviously, you still can win that matchup, just not as consistently as you can win other matchups or as you're used to winning that matchup against different corners. Rodgers fires it anyway. It gets batted up and intercepted, which, okay, that's luck, right? Obviously, there's a big luck component in that. It's not going to always end up being a near pick six when you make that throw, but it is kind of a good example of showing that when you have guys who have good ball skills and can knock passes away, sometimes good things happen for the defense. But there is a way to beat Davis, and Adams still is, clearly Adams is a better receiver than Davis is a corner, I think, even though I think Carlton Davis is really good, and he sort of matches up well against a receiver like Adams. The way for Adams to beat Davis is by using his speed, and this play is a good example of that. So it's going to be a cover one blitz that Tampa Bay is in. Adams is running a route, and really what they're trying to do here is Rodgers wants to go back shoulder to Davante Adams. It's a one-on-one matchup, and Carlton Davis is once again in coverage. But this time, watch what happens. When Adams just sort of uses his speed, he gets that first step to not create contact at the line. And at this point, while there isn't a ton of separation, the advantage is Davis now has to turn his back. He doesn't know when the ball is coming, whereas Adams knows about when Rodgers plans on making the throw, so that's the big advantage there. So Adams is able to actually make this grab. He stepped out of bounds. He wasn't able to get in bounds on that play, but I think that's a bit lucky. I think that more often than not, you're going to see that Davante Adams is going to make that grab. And that's probably the way to beat Davis is, Davis, for as good as he is at these slant routes and these out routes, the one way where he struggled is, in zone coverage, not as good of a, corner in zone as he is in man, but also if you can use speed. That's how Tyreek Hill was able to get 200 yards on him in just one quarter, is speed. I talk a lot about in football, don't have an ego. And if you're Davante Adams, don't say, well, I want to be able to beat anybody on a slant. Don't worry about it. Just play what's the best way to beat him. And if the best way to beat him is to use speed, then beat him that way. That's what I think. And I also want to talk about this play because I mentioned in my other video about this game how I think that you're going to see Tampa Bay's receivers, who are good blocking receivers, going up against corners and safeties who are good at sort of, shedding blocks. So it's kind of interesting. Well, it's the same thing on the other side of the field as well. Tampa Bay's corners love to get physical, and Green Bay's receivers love to get physical as well. So it's really fun there. On this one, it is going to be just a quick screen pass to Rodgers' left, and I should mention before this play even starts, it's going to end up getting dropped, so it doesn't matter. But watch how Carlton Davis is able to rush in, and he does get around that block pretty quickly. Didn't matter, but he didn't know that. So again, I'm not going to take that one play and say, see, Tampa Bay will win that matchup. We just don't know. It should be an interesting matchup, though. On both sides of the ball, we're going to see all 22 players giving it their all and being physical, and it should be interesting to watch. Okay, let's talk about this play now, because I think that Green Bay was expecting Tampa Bay to play a lot more man than they ended up playing. Tampa Bay played some man, but they played mostly zone, and I wouldn't be shocked if they do that again against Green Bay, which usually I don't like when this team plays zone. I actually think that it's not the worst thing in the world against the Packers. But for Green Bay, basically what you want to do is you want to use Davante Adams as a decoy to get other guys open. Don't be afraid to do that. Where that's what they're doing on this play. Adams is running a deep route that's going to get over the middle, and his job is to get, once again, Carlton Davis, who's the deep corner in that side of the field, to kind of run over the middle, and then Aaron Jones is going to run to where Davis was. Rodgers takes a snap. He also is going to run a play action, and you see that this play is pretty much working. I mean, Davis did run over the middle to make sure he's covering Adams, and now Aaron Jones is pretty close to being open. Now, when Rodgers makes this throw, Davis actually does a pretty good job of closing. It's initially ruled a catch, gets overturned, though, in the replay room. And, that was close, though. And quite frankly, I think that if Aaron Rodgers has that kind of an opening, he makes the throw and they get the completion 9 out of 10 times, probably. That was just the 1 out of 10. So I think that even though that play didn't actually end up working, you'll still take that if you're Green Bay. If you're wondering why I'm showing so many plays that went against Green Bay in this game, it's because basically every play went against Green Bay except for the first couple of drives. So that's kind of why I'm doing it. But I'm also just trying to use it sort of as a broader picture and talk about the game as a whole. One thing that could be interesting is the fact that Tampa Bay likes to blitz, and that could be a way to get pressure on Rodgers. It was the first time they played, was getting pressure to Rodgers. It's tough to do against that front five with the Packers offensive line. So send more guys, figure out a way to get pressure. If you have to blitz, then blitz, and trust that your defensive backs can, cover guys for at least 2 seconds. Like on this play, it's going to be Davante David. He's blitzing off the edge to Rodgers' left. And while there's, it's really a 3-4 with two linebackers on either side, you're going to see Bakhtiari isn't expecting Davante David to blitz here because Davante David is not an edge rusher. They also have Devin White, who is also not an edge rusher on the other side. So kind of just goes to show how Tampa Bay will completely mix things up and confuse you. On top of this, you have Shaq Barrett, last year's NFL leading sack guy. He's currently lined up as a traditional middle linebacker, but you're assuming he's going to rush in. So you don't know exactly who's going to rush the passer, who isn't. It's actually going to be all 6 of them are going to rush the passer, though, but really focus on David because the halfback is going to try and block him. And as you see, emphasis on try because he does his best, Jamal Williams does, but it's Davante David's a tough guy to block like that, and he's able to get a sack immediately. These guys are really good at blitzing, and they can get pressure to Rodgers quickly, and Todd Bowles knows when to dial him up. And so that is something that you're going to have to be wary of for Green Bay. And I think for Green Bay, even when you go into practice, plan for some 2nd down and 16 situations or 3rd down and 12 situations. Because with the pressure, you might end up getting sacked and you might end up in that situation and you want to be prepared for it. Like this one's another good example where you see Jason Pierre-Paul. He's going to run to the inside of the left tackle and then Davante David's going to swing around the edge. So again, they do things like this to try and get this immediate pressure. And even though Green Bay is pretty good at picking up a blitz, the reality is Tampa Bay is just really good at blitzing, and so it's great versus great. And the first time these two teams played, there's no doubt about it, Tampa Bay had the massive advantage. Watch how Pierre-Paul gets to the inside, and watch Jones trying to block Davante David. Again, did his best. It's just tough. And that's a tough situation to put your back into. And these are guys that are usually pretty decent at picking up a blitz. So I think that really just goes to show what Green Bay is going up against. And I'm going to be interested to see what exactly they do. It might just be have a tight end blocking a lot of the game, which they had tried in this game. On this play, it actually looked like they had 2 tight ends in the game blocking. The problem is they were just on the wrong side. So if Tampa Bay sees something like that, they're not afraid to just go to the other side. And Todd Bowles really got the better of Matt LaFleur, who's one of my favorite offensive coaches in the league. I think he's brilliant. But, I mean, let's just be honest. The first time Todd Bowles had a victory, and it'll be interesting to see what adjustments that LaFleur makes, because I know that the game isn't going to go the same way next time. I think one small thing Green Bay could do is just go simple sometimes. I think that we'll see some zone coverage, and it's worth mentioning Tampa Bay, they'll play zone coverage and blitz. Like, some of their blitzes are zone, which is fine. Just get some underneath stuff. Don't worry too much. Go slowly sometimes, pick up yards that way. Yes, it's true, the fact that Tampa Bay can get some sacks, that can screw things up. That makes long with it methodical drives more difficult. But sometimes that's what you have to take, especially when Tampa Bay is playing zone. They'll give you that stuff all day. On this play, it's a cover 3 zone. Davante Adams is running a quick route that's going to get into a gap in coverage. So that's where Rodgers should throw the ball to. Rodgers takes the snap, and he's going to miss this throw, largely because I think there was some pressure in his face a little bit. He still missed the throw, and Adams usually makes that grab. And again, it was just kind of one of those days where everything seemingly went wrong. That's not going to happen on Championship Sunday. At least I don't think it will. But that's something that is there. So have guys run routes like that. You can get Adams in open space where he could pick up, not just 5 yards, maybe 15 if he can make a move. One clear X factor, I think, in this game is going to be Robert Tonyan. I think Robert Tonyan was not the guy who he became later on in the season when these two teams first played. And he did have a moment against Lavonte David where, listen, I've given Lavonte David and Devin White a lot of praise in this video. They're not the best at coverage. They're much better at rushing the passer or stopping the run. Their coverage is fine, but they can definitely get beat by the good guys. Tunyan's running a route over the middle. This is cover 2 man, so over the middle should be open. This is a route that Rodgers should throw to, and I also think this is something that you'll see Green Bay probably incorporate in their game plan a lot more on Championship Sunday. But watch how Rodgers takes the snap. He is going to make this throw over the middle, and it's just, again, it's a bad throw. And that's just the kind of thing. Rodgers had an awful day, but he's not going to have an awful day again, almost definitely. There's the small chance, I suppose, that he could have an awful day, but again, unless he's afraid of the pirate logo on the Buccaneers helmets, I think that he's probably going to be fine. I don't think there's going to be a correlation to his inaccuracy the first time they played. I don't think there will be inaccuracy the second time they play. So yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on this game. I think that it should be interesting. I think this should be a very interesting game. And it's one of those, I could see it going a couple of different ways. I don't think it's out of the question for the Bucs defense to really step it up again against Green Bay. I don't think it's out of the question for just the constant moving parts that Todd Bowles throws in the offense to once again confuse Green Bay and confuse their offense. I do think that the way that Green Bay kind of likes to pick up some easy yards is sometimes through screen passes and through the running game, and Tampa Bay can shut those things down. So that is a huge advantage for Tampa Bay, I think. I also think that last week we saw that Green Bay was able to sort of get this methodical approach where they were able to just get these long drives down the field. That's not really going to be available against Tampa Bay, but some deeper shots might be available, and that's what they're going to have to do. They're going to have to pick their moments. Because as much as we've seen went wrong the first time these two teams played, pretty much Green Bay has been almost perfect since then. And so part of it is they haven't had a bad matchup like they have against Tampa Bay. I think that's fair to say. But I also think they've gotten better. So I'm talking a lot here. What I think Green Bay should do is don't abandon the run even if it sucks. I think that you got to still run the ball and you got to still find a way to take your deep shots, play action could be huge in this one. I could really see that happening. And if Tampa Bay is playing zone, let them. Throw zone busters. You can have success. They weren't ready for zone the first time. I think they'll be ready this time. I really do. I also think, let's be real, the chances of Rodgers throwing essentially 2 pick sixes in this game is virtually zero. I don't think that'll happen, and I think that's massive advantage to Green Bay. There's no doubt about it. This game is going to be a lot closer than the first game was. I mean, if you think that because Green Bay got blown out the first time, they'll get blown out the second time, well, just look at Tampa Bay, and they got blown out by New Orleans and then beat them to get here. I've given a prediction for every single game that's happened this season on my podcast. We do a weekly pick'em show. This game is as difficult of a game that I've had to predict all season long. So much so, in fact, that I actually first had the Packers winning, and now I'm re-recording this, and I'm going to give the Buccaneers the victory. I decided to re-record it. I'm going to say both teams score 27 points in regulation. Tampa Bay wins in overtime because, let's be honest, I feel like Tom Brady, of course, would get the coin flip if it went to overtime. Seriously, I don't know who's going to win. I think it's tough. I know a lot of people are saying these are 2 different teams now. It's going to be in Green Bay. You can't pay too much attention to that first game, but I also want to be clear, you can still use that first game. Like, I've downplayed it a good amount in this video as well. But you can still use it. That first game is still a tool that you can use because it's, while yes, it's not an end-all be-all, it still is, something. Teams that win in the regular season against another team that they end up playing in the postseason tend to win that game as well. Not 100% of the time, but more than 50% of the time. But I do think that the Packers are much better now, so it could go either way. I'm having such a hard time picking this game, so I'll pick my favorite team because why not? So yeah, that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Should be an awesome weekend of football. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.